Sargent should be the number 9.
My biggest concern is that Mexico does tend to make those little mistakes defensively, but it's the inconsistencies.
Isn't this inconsistent though?
He's going to be on the ground for the majority of the time. No, look back at highlights.
That's the Christian Pulisic treatment though.
Same.
We're going to have to stop this. We're going to start arguing on this podcast, aren't we?
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Real Futbol Show. As always, I'm Lizzy, U.S. editor covering North American football over at 90min.com with my co-host, Geno. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It is cold here in New York. I am not wanting to go outside, but I do like fresh air, so that's the dilemma I face this week. But we get to spend some of this beautiful inside time talking about soccer and Liga MX and MLS, and as the year continues to move on, we get more and more soccer, and how could we hate that? So it's good.
How can we hate that?
How are you?
I'm good. Coming back from San Jose over at MLS Media Day. It was 39 back-to-back interviews, so we have a lot of content coming over on this podcast, 90min.com/US, and on all social media channels. So be sure to stay tuned. At the end of this episode, we will cover 2 of our most recent exclusives, which they went viral, which were very interesting.
It's not hard either. Our social media handles are right here, right on this screen. It's really not that hard. Just type them in. It's very easy.
So fun. So easy.
I don't know how you do. I mean, 39 straight interviews. I don't even know if I was there and we split the interviews, 20 interviews each would be a lot. You know, like that's a lot of interviews. But that means for you guys out there, you get more exclusive content from us. So stay tuned for that. I mean, Lizzy is posting stuff on 90min US already. But video stuff will come out in the future. Again, like we said, we'll be showing some stuff here towards the end of the podcast as well. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we have a lot. But first and foremost, we have to recap Liga MX, week 2. A lot of action. We draw, you lose. It's an interesting week.
It's okay. You're 1 point ahead of us. You're 1 point ahead of us.
And it's a great time.
You're 1 point. It's early. It's early in the season. A lot of game left to play. A lot of the Klaus soda left. I'm not worried. I'm not even a little bit worried.
Okay, well, you should be, but that's a point for another time. Club America, to start off with, drew 2-2 against Toluca in what honestly was a decent performance in my book. I was okay with the result given the fact that they're the runner-ups from the 2022 Apertura. Nacho Ambriz is an excellent head coach. I think the team functions very well, and if it hadn't been for Oscar Jimenez, we probably would have been in a ditch. So thankful for him. 2-2 is an okay result. Obviously, coming off of the 0-0.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's leave it. I mean, because I personally don't think. I mean, there were periods where Club America played well, but I think for the most part they probably could have played better. I think that they're still trying to find their stride. Where Toluca just seemed to have control of certain parts of the game, as as we talked about a little bit before the podcast. I felt like Toluca's transition game was really good. I felt like every time there was a big transition opportunity, Toluca was on the front foot and had a scoring chance. So that's something, obviously, that in a different game, maybe against a different opponent or on a different day, that hurts Club America more than it did. Yeah. Again, as we mentioned, Oscar Jimenez, as I put in my notes here, I just, like, his face, I don't know. He's got a really big smile, and that's great. And I love the fact that he has a really big smile, but it bothers me a little bit. I don't know why. There's just something about it. But despite that, he had a very, very good game, which meant I had to see the smile more, which, again, we're happy that he's happy, but at the same time, I don't know. It's not my, I don't know.
Not your cup of tea. Well, given his story, I'm glad he's smiling. Prior to 2023, he had 13 appearances for Club America and 211 appearances on the bench. He was obviously the substitute for Guillermo Ochoa and previous goalkeepers prior, but I think it's his moment to be out on the field. I am not completely opposed to seeing him back on the bench. He has given great games. But he's 34, and obviously his backup, recently signed player, Malagon, I would like to see developed on the field.
Yeah.
It works well for the Mexican national team. An up-and-coming goalkeeper who can soon, if Guillermo Ochoa doesn't make 2026, can run against Acevedo. So for the development of Mexican football, I'd like to see Malagon come up.
Yeah, I mean,
Obviously, that's not the choice at the moment.
I think also what we saw in, I mean, again, we talk about these Copa por Mexico as its friendlies, but still in those games, he was giving up goals. Oscar Jimenez. There were times where he was probably caught out of position, was not playing his best. So on Saturday, we did see the best of Oscar Jimenez, but
we did.
It may be the very best and the top of his game. And again, like you said, he's 34. At 34, there isn't much room for him to be on the Mexican national team. There isn't much room for him to grow. You do want to see some of those young players develop, but it may take some time for Malagon to get on the field. Being recently signed and getting accustomed to everything at Club America. But I would imagine maybe not this Clausura, but probably by the Apertura, we're going to see him taking over. And again, there's time. There's time. We have. I think the thing with goalies is whether
it's such a difficult position.
You don't really hit your prime till you're like 25, 26 years old, as opposed to a lot of outfield players who need by 22, 23. So there's a little bit more time to develop as a goalie. We've seen more goalies go to 35, 36, 40 years old. So it's definitely a different position. So he does have time to grow, but still, like you said, for the development of soccer of Mexican soccer and for the development of the goalkeepers in the Mexican Federation, you do want to see these younger players playing more, of course. In these
the problem is, though, as a goalkeeper, it's not like you're going to see a substitution made in the 60th minute as you would with midfielders or forwards. So you can be another Oscar Jimenez sitting on the bench for another 200 games, and that would be terrible for Malagon.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's my overall concern.
How much did they spend on Malagon?
Like quite a bit.
So
it was a
I think
move.
That's your answer right there, though, right? I mean, again, quite a bit for Mexican. The Mexican League is different from, and for MLS, to be fair, is different from Europe and quite a bit in England or whatnot. But if they're spending on the higher end for a goalkeeper, a young goalkeeper, you're going to see him play sooner rather than later. So,
also prior to Guillermo Ochoa's departure and everything, Oscar Jimenez did threaten the team. And I mean that not literally, but he was like, I'm going to leave if Memo Ochoa doesn't leave, because he knew he wouldn't have an opportunity. So that's my concern in 10 years' time with Malagon saying, I'm going to leave Club America if Oscar Jimenez stops playing.
Well, I mean, I feel like Oscar Jimenez spending 211 games on the bench, he probably should have made that argument sooner before.
Yeah, he probably should have.
Maybe at 30, make that comment. But at 34, maybe with, probably your better years behind you, I would say maybe hold that one back.
I mean, he had some options. I think he was linked to Juarez prior, but obviously he stayed. He did make a whopping 10 saves during the game against Toluca, so that was great.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to his playing.
I'd like to say that I thought I do like the way Toluca is just offensively. I think they move the ball very well. Probably the best out of any team I've seen and watched, been able to actually get a good look at out of the Mexican League so far. I feel like they're very composed, move the ball well. Under pressure, they look fine. Some really good passes through the lines a couple times that I thought, I mean, the first half, I felt like Toluca had a really good handle on things. For at least up until the second goal, but after that, it was a lot of Club America. There was a really great save at the end of the first half by Jimenez to keep it at 2-1. And again, like I said, I think that Club America kind of came into the game a little bit towards the middle, and then things started to fade a little bit more towards Toluca as Club America started to push forward, and more of that transition offense became, more, I guess, effective in the fact that Club America is pushing forward, needing a goal, and Toluca was going the other way. But I also said, I have a couple things here. Club America was clearly bailed out by a pen. I mean, it was probably a pen, but like they were bailed out. I don't really care. And Liga MX is definitely the definition of shoot your shot, because these guys are taking shots from 40 yards out. with the goalkeeper like in the net, like not even a remote chance of scoring, and they're just getting, and that's, I mean,
That's what
it's
makes it
great,
fun.
but that's
That's what makes
great. I
it
like
so much
offense
fun.
and I like the opportunity to score, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I mean, that was just a wasted opportunity. But yes, I define Liga MX as the shoot your shot league. That's
Love
my
that.
opinion.
Absolutely love that. And your analysis of Toluca. Nacho Ambriz is a phenomenal coach.
He is.
I personally wanted him to join the Mexican national team and lead that. I think he would have been a great individual to lead the team. Obviously, that was not the case, but we never know in the future. We don't have a head coach yet. Names are sounding, but we don't have a head coach yet. So
Again,
who
I mean,
knows?
just to take a little Mexican tangent right here, I mean, you have 4 years and it's not a World Cup qualifying year. Like a World Cup qualify. You don't have to qualify.
That's true, but also tournaments are coming up, and
Yeah, for sure.
at what
For
point do
sure.
you say like, "Oh, now it's go time" before
Yeah.
hosting
But I think
several
those
nations at the
tournaments mean
Azteca?
more if you have a qualifying, because those tournaments in the early period after World Cup are more spent trying to figure out who's going to play. Like you still have time for that, where the World Cup qualifying that the US, Mexico, and Canada are going to go through can more be used as the attempt to figure out which players fit best closer to the
Yeah,
tournament, rather than you having to figure it out before qualifying starts, and then
right.
you kind of have to play who you trust to make sure you get into the tournament before anything happens.
I mean, I would still like to see a name announced pretty soon, at least before March, but who knows? Probably won't
We'll
happen.
see. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, you know who got a great game again? Tigres. They
Tigres did
defeated.
have a great game, but I will say
They
before we get
did.
into this conversation, I think the score is a little
Okay.
deceiving. But
Is it okay?
well, I think if you watch the game, like I mean, I only watched the highlights, but through 55 minutes of this game, it was 1-1. Through 78 minutes of this game, it was 2-1. They got 2 goals, turning over Pachuca in a situation where Pachuca needed to score. Their line was high, and they just turned over the
Right.
defense. So I don't think that Pachuca probably played as bad as the
As it
scoreline
reflects.
says and reflects,
Okay.
especially at the beginning of the
Interesting
game. I
take.
thought they came out hot in terms of
Yeah.
at least the highlights and what I did see, the many highlights that I did see.
Yeah.
But again, Tigres looks very, very good right now. And it was a great game by them. And honestly, fans were really good.
Yeah.
Held up to your hype of them.
I
So
told you.
the fans were very good, and I really enjoyed watching that too. So that was cool.
I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, they're coming off of an establishing 3-0 victory over Santos in the first week, and now 4-0, 4-1 victory over the reigning champions, which, again, phenomenal win. I think it's sad for Pachuca, but not only did they beat them 4-1 in a devastating loss, but they also stole their leading goal scorer from last season, Nico Ibanez. They've since signed him. He didn't play, but he has since joined Tigres, and we will see him now boasting that yellow and blue. But
Yeah.
as for the game, Gorrian, we saw him score again. He's been a great addition for Tigres, and we knew that coming out of Santos. He was great last season. He wasn't a player that was going to stay idle on the field. He was always going to score or try to be up top all the time, and he is, and he's doing great. Gignac scored again. That was great, and I think overall the critiques I'm hearing is not so much this is a new and revolutionized team. Obviously, yes, the addition of Gorrian helps, but we're seeing a well-placed roster coached by a better coach. Obviously, we know Miguel Herrera El Piojo left after last season for the old roster comment, but I
I
mean
mean, they're on
it's
fire. I
going
mean,
well
they're
now.
scored 7 goals in 2 games. I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
mean it's
Gignac doesn't look, like he's
old.
aging or 37 years old. He's
Doesn't
been
need to
on
use a
top of
cane
his
yet.
game. He doesn't need to use a cane yet. He's been on top of his game from what it looks like, and this Tigres team might be the team to beat. I don't know. They're going to be up there with the contenders for this one
As they
based on
should
these
be,
first
though.
games. Yeah,
As they should be. This is, I want to say, the norm for them. Being mid-table or disappointing in the playoffs was not where they belong, considering the money that they spend during the
yeah,
offseason
yeah. And
and the
again,
moves that they make.
yeah,
Truly,
yeah.
It's not a team that should be at the middle of the league. That's funny. But yeah, no, they are phenomenal. They're establishing themselves. It might not be that one-shot game that we thought against Santos. Top of the league, we will see. Now we have Cruz Azul, who's not so hot this week. Sorry. They lost 3-2 against Monterrey.
That's like so mean. Because you know what?
Is it?
It is. It is
Oh,
mean. It is mean. Because Cruz Azul, I mean, listen, they lost 2-1. It's not like they got blown out. They lost 3-2. Sorry, I had the score wrong on this one.
Yeah, you guys let in 3 goals.
We let in 3 goals. Okay, yes, but you guys have also let in 3 goals over 2 games. So
okay, but we drew twice. We haven't lost.
No, but I think listen, it was a harsh red card on Estrada. I don't really.
Okay.
So in the 53rd minute, this game is still in reach, of course.
Yeah.
And he didn't look over and elbow the guy in the face. He's jumping. It's a natural movement. Why is that a yellow card? Why? I don't understand why it's a yellow card. And I mean, listen, maybe it's different in the Premier League because I watch that 95% of the times, and I feel like they don't give yellow cards out a lot for that in the Premier League. But I feel like, especially on a yellow, that's a harsh second yellow.
You think it's a soft yellow?
I think it's extremely soft yellow.
He was already warm though. You should have been more focused. Like once you're on a yellow,
yes, but
you know
I understand.
Not to do that.
But that, I feel like that comes to slide tackles and hard tackles and stuff like that. But I feel like in the air, if you're not looking over at the player, you don't have a glance at the player. I feel like that is less of a hard. If the guy jumps 3
I don't think that was
earlier, it's not a foul, right?
I do not think that's the defining factor of the game. I think overall,
the defining factor.
1 goal. You guys scored 1 goal, and it was a Berterame hat trick, essentially, because he scored 3, 2 for Rayados and 1 for Cruz Azul. So technically, you guys scored 1 goal. It would have been 3-1 had it not been helped by the other team. So I don't think the red card was the defining factor of the situation. I think you guys managed 1 goal.
What I will say is I'm getting the full Everton experience because they didn't. They did not. Listen, they did not play very well in this match. Obviously, being down to 10 men for the majority of this second half obviously hurts you. They did get 13 shots off. 5 of them were on target, which is great. That's awesome, but didn't control the possession that much.
They did not.
Allowed a lot of shots and shots on target. Again, this Monterrey side I don't think is a bad team. So losing 3-2 or even 3-1 if you take away the own goal is not terrible. And
not terrible.
That's fine. But the first 2 performances I've seen from this Cruz Azul side have not been encouraging for the Copa por Mexico champions. I feel like we got some work to do over here.
You definitely do. At least
Oriol Antuna did play though, so
yeah. At least you had a goal.
We did have a goal from him.
It was great. He's not going to Greece. It was also interestingly the battle of the Funes Mori.
Yes, the battle of the brothers. I would be interested to know how many times that's ever happened in soccer.
Not many. There was a point.
Obviously, it happens every time. But
they've been injured for quite a bit.
Really?
So yeah, there's been injury spells on both sides that have prevented the ability for them to come into battle. So it was long awaited at this point. Yeah, it was great. Rogelio Funes Mori scored a goal. Not that
he had an assist, I think,
but
too.
whatever. Yeah, so he's clearly
really unfortunate.
Yeah, clearly the better brother, but also went to the World Cup, So yeah, clearly the better brother.
My side's brother plays for the team that just won the World Cup, so it's hard for him to get.
He wasn't even there.
Yes, but it was hard for him to get in the team. It's so easy to get into Mexico.
Oh, it
so easy to get into Mexico. They got out in the group stage. Not even the U.S. did that.
Okay, first of all, are we talking about scandals? You want to talk about scandals? Your team just had one. You want to talk about the U.S. scandal again? I'm sorry. At least you don't have telenovela threats and exposures going on this side. So sorry.
Listen.
We're a little bit more calm now.
It hurts to be when you're good. When you're good, things come out. Things happen.
Oh, really? Are we talking about the
when you're
same
good and
team
you're
that
in the
missed
public eye
World
more.
Cup in 2018?
2018,
Or
that year never happened.
oh,
Actually, never
okay.
happened.
So we're not counting history then?
Yes. No, we're not
Okay.
counting history. That
We're
year
not
definitely
counting
did not
history then.
happen.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, the
Definitely.
same way it didn't happen that Berhalter kicked his wife. Do you know?
All right. This is getting very serious. We're getting into into a place where I feel like we should probably
Let's step away.
But
Anyway,
when it gets to domestic violence, I think we could both agree domestic violence is not good.
No, we do not condone at all means.
So,
at all
whether
means,
you're
and
a
we
US
truly feel
fan,
bad for
Rosalind?
his wife. Rosalind Berhalter deserves better on all aspects of the story.
And again, there will be more to come out about that because
there's an ongoing investigation.
Their investigation. So
we'll cover it all. But there's an ongoing investigation. We will post results from that as well. Berhalter's not technically back with the national team, and contracts are not being spoken about until results come out.
Correct.
So he may still be involved with the national team. We don't know yet. But for now,
a very harsh turn to our
an assistant head coach is going to be no, but we're on the same side on this case.
No, we are on the same side.
Yeah,
yes,
we're on the same side.
Again, to be serious on this, obviously we messed with each other in terms of
but we're always on
U.S.
the
and
same
Mexico.
side
But when it comes to something like this and as serious as this, we obviously are on the same side with this.
Yeah, that's
just had to make that clarification before anything else.
Important.
But
above all, same side. Now scooching back to Liga MX. Well, I guess this is a little also serious tone, but Cata Dominguez faces a 3-match ban for obviously the incident that we spoke about last episode.
It's not going well for Cruz Azul right now.
It really is not going well for Cruz Azul. Despite the loss, also you have this 3-match ban. He already faced the first 2 matches. He obviously didn't play week 1 and week 2, so now he has 1 game left in this 3-match ban. I don't see him playing a huge part of the team regardless of this punishment or not. I think results-wise, he wasn't living up to the expectations anyway. So honestly, I think Cruz Azul should have just cut him from the roster, but they instead went for the 3-match ban. So
yeah, honestly, I would say he should be cut from the roster too. Again, regardless of his. Are you angry about this?
Oh, no, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, it probably is my 7th cup of coffee. So maybe it's just jitters. I'm really
aggressive. Jeez.
I'm so sorry.
No,
but yes. Microphone has really good sound.
Yes, it
Phenomenal.
does. Picks up a lot.
Amazing.
But yeah, I mean, arguably, you probably should just cut him from the team, whether he's good or not. I mean, the tone, I guess, as we said, the tone deafness, is that a word? I don't know. But that to the situation that was going on. And the situation overall that, it's not just from the past events of the past couple weeks, but overall, I mean, that's, you should know better.
Should be cut.
So,
it should be cut.
Yeah, but a punishment, at least there was a punishment for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably should have been cut.
Yeah. Switching over now to Santos Laguna, they bounced right back from the defeat against Tigres, right back with a 3-0 victory over Pumas. I think it's phenomenal. Something I really like about Santos in general is the fact that if they do well, we know the Mexican national team has rising stars because they usually take these young Mexican players, usually from either their academy or these under 17, under 19, or under 20 Mexican national team. And that was the case this weekend because Diego Medina scored 2 goals. He's 21 at the moment, and he recently played with the Mexican national team under 20 team. He came from the academy. That's something really unique to Santos, and they usually sell to across the league and abroad as well. So seeing them thrive means Mexican soccer is thriving, and that's always a good sign.
It was some people
a tough defeat to come through, but
they did bounce right back. I mean, I will say I felt kind of bad for the Pumas goalkeeper because the first 2 goals were extremely unlucky goals, just really bad bounces and just unfortunate things that happened to him. So in terms of on the field, so it's again another game where Santos maybe got the benefit of some luck in this one. But they were definitely the better team too. Obviously, again, we go back to shoot your shot. You got to put the shot on net. You got to make the goalkeeper force a save for him to get unlucky,
That's
right?
true.
So you have to put shots on net, attempt, and they did play really well. And Pumas, needed a better performance. Now they lost or they won 1-0 last week, right? Am I wrong? Just going back in
I
my
think you
mind.
are. No, I think you are. I don't think they won, did they?
Sorry, I'm looking at the results right now. Where am I? No, yeah, they won 2-1, but it was over. Is it Juarez? Is that how you pronounce that?
Juarez.
Juarez.
You're close though.
I was close.
Yeah, you were
So they
close.
won 2-1. They get the 3 points, but come back to, I guess, maybe some of the form that we saw.
Yeah.
Or I guess you can say those of us who watched Liga MX last season, because I will admit I did not watch it. This is my first season, as you all know. So bounce back to that form that they were kind of in last season. 3-0 losses to a team like Santos Laguna that arguably you'll be in a competition with in the table. My Spanish is improving. Listen, I'm trying. I listen to the games on Spanish.
And it's good. No, but it's going well. I'm very proud. I am very proud.
But yeah, no, arguably, to go back to Pumas, it's just they're going to be fighting with Santos probably during points of the season, a majority of the season, you would think, unless Santos has a remarkably better season or Pumas has a really bad season. I think they'll both be kind of right around the bottom of the playoffs there, maybe.
I hope. Santos Laguna is coming off of a great 22 Apertura campaign. Yeah. They ended top 4, which was great. And there's something special about Eduardo Fentanes, the head coach. I had an interview with him last season where I asked why in particular they were doing so well on the offensive front when they didn't have a candidate for the league's top scorer, because the goals were really sprinkled throughout the roster, which was great. And he said it's an ability to be able to do that and not, in other words, put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Paid off because obviously Gorrian did really well and left. So now his ability to switch that mindset to another player and another group of attacking players is great. And we're seeing that once again, like they do have the ability to score. They do have this outlet for goal scoring. Fentanes knows what he's doing. I think he's one of like the young coaches really meticulous and really fixated on technique and work ethic rather than overarching themes. And we're seeing that on the pitch. And I don't think they're struggling as much as they want to. I think it'll be hard to reach top 4 again, given the offseason moves of some of these teams. But I don't know. I think like 6-7 would be a decent estimate for them. Obviously, this is after 2 weeks and the moves that they made during the offseason. But I want to say 6 or 7. We also didn't predict standings, so we should probably do that for next episode.
We need to predict standings for. Everybody knows what we think, right? We'll come up with it. It'll be or maybe we wait till halfway through the season and we'll do like midway predictions.
All right, I like that.
I think that might be better because at this point, we're
already into it.
Like we're into it, but it's not like you don't know anything. But
midway
in, we'll do one and predict, and I'm sure my predictions will be right and yours will be wrong.
Oh, okay. What a good prediction already.
I should read the standings in Spanish. That would be a very interesting read. I probably would not do a good job at it.
I have faith in you.
But again, we're working on it. I'm translating some of these things by, this one, the last clip that we translated, which you guys will see. I didn't use Google Translate. I just use your translation and my mind. So that helps. So Spanish is getting better. Spanish is getting better.
So fun.
But yes, looking forward to Santos. As we mentioned, I do like a team who produces young talent and has a lot of that young talent. You like to see those up and comers, and it seems like Santos is that team. So I do like seeing that. I don't really care whether they produce for the Mexican national team. Could care less, but good for them for doing well in this week.
Of course. Thanks much. Excellent time. Excellent timing. Speaking about the Mexican national team, during MLS Media Day, we talked to Chicharito, Javier Hernandez, the Mexican national team's leading goal scorer, obviously. And he had some very interesting things to say. We know that he did not feature for the Mexican national team in the latest edition of the World Cup in Qatar. There was some controversy surrounding his absence. We know he did not do well under Gerardo Martino. He broke a couple of rules that led to a lack of call-ups under his system and coaching style. So he didn't make it. Obviously, more on that on 90 Min, so we don't have to cover all of that on air. But Martino is out. There's a new World Cup cycle starting, and 2026 is just around the corner. So here's what he had to say about that.
Mira, hay un güey que dijo, imaginémonos cosas chingonas, ¿no? Que no lo conozco, pero pues claro que te diría que sí, pero obviamente requiere muchísimo de a ver cómo llegaré físicamente, que es lo más importante, pero creo que con el cuidado, con la inversión de tiempo, de trabajo, de todo lo que estoy haciendo a mi cuerpo, a mi mente, a mis emociones, claro, ¿por qué no? Hay muchos ejemplos de jugadores rindiendo no nada más de fútbol, sino también en otros deportes que rinden a los 40 años, 38, 39, que son extraordinarios. Entonces sí, ¿por qué no? Obviamente sí. Dependerá de muchos factores, pero pues sí, mi respuesta es sí.
And his yes is referring to representing the Mexican national team at the 2026 World Cup. He would be around 38 at that point, which, I mean, we've seen Rafa Marquez reach that age with the Mexican national team at a World Cup, so it's not extremely strange, but it was definitely interesting to hear him want to come back to the Mexican national team after everything.
I'm of two minds with this, right? I think from a perspective of the Mexican national team and whether Chicharito helps the Mexican national team at 38 years old, my answer would be no. I would say he probably doesn't help, and he probably may create more of a distraction than, just him being back and obviously everything surrounding it. It may create more of a distraction than anything. But at the same time, what I will say is I can't blame him. 2026
For wanting to come back?
coming back for your definite World Cup in your home country.
Yeah.
How could you not want to do that? So I think in his comments, he said it. Obviously, it's a difficult task. He has to be up to it physically, mentally. It's not going to be easy. And with the way that the Mexican number 9s are coming up with Santi Jimenez and, Henry Martin and some of these other number 9s who are more prominent in the team and starting to make their way, up into the ranks and make a name for themselves, it's going to be a hard task. But again, you cannot blame him for wanting to do that, because I would want to play, if I was 38, I'd want to play the next World Cup in my home country. That's how I would feel. So I don't blame him, but I don't know if it would be a good move overall for the Mexican national team to bring him in 2026, but that's, I guess, to be determined in 2026.
I agree. I agree with what you have to say. Honestly, there is obviously this emotional component of the upcoming World Cup for 3 nations, and it was a similar topic throughout a couple of the interviews we did in MLS Media Day. I mean, we spoke to Samuel Piet of the Canadian national team, Mark Anthony Kaye, Kellen Acosta, DeAndre Yedlin with the U.S. men's national team, Hector Herrera and Chicharito with the Mexican national team. And all of them had this emotion towards 2026. And obviously playing in the sport's biggest tournament and most international stage in your home country is what I imagine a surreal feeling. I mean, if you saw players crying in Qatar when hearing their national anthems, I can't even imagine what it must be like in your home soil to be surrounded by your people playing the game that you love. So I do understand the need for players to get to that World Cup. I think when talking about it, this is so much more of an emotional standpoint more than a logical one. You think of these veteran players reaching yet another World Cup. It'll be difficult. Interestingly enough, I asked, obviously, DeAndre Yedlin the same question, and we'll head into this topic more in next episode as well. But I asked DeAndre Yedlin if he could see himself making the next World Cup, and he cited Tim Ream as an inspiration, saying the turnaround his career had and the moment where he's at right now is such an inspiration for other players trying to reach yet another tournament. So We shall see. Obviously, I don't think anyone saw Tim Ream's career going this way prior. I don't even think he did.
Again, I will say this, and I will take full blame for this, but up until this World Cup, I hated Tim Ream.
Oh,
like every time he showed up for the U.S. men's national team, I was so mad. But he very well deserved his opportunity in 2022, and he took it, and I think he did very well, and he continues to do very well for a Fulham team, to get a little bit off topic here with the Premier League, but for a Fulham team that is playing very well right now under Marco Silva. So I have to give him props, because I thought before this year, Tim Ream was one player who I wanted nowhere near the U.S. men's national team. And I have to give him props for making that resurgence. And you can't, and going back to what we're talking about, there's no saying that any of these players cannot make that resurgence. You know, there's especially a player of Chicharito's talent. Tim Ream is an American hero. They're building a statue right outside my apartment. I think they're building one in each state.
Naturally.
We probably will not build any Mexican national team statues from this year because they didn't make it out of the group stage. But
so glad you got one more opportunity to just like sweep that right in. Phenomenal stuff. Great stuff. Really appreciate that. Anyway, it's so hard to keep up with the pressure when you make every single World Cup, you know? I know you can't relate to that, but it is difficult being on the other side of that. Anywho,
if you're not winning, you're losing. So what does it really matter?
You also lost. Join the team.
Exactly. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat. At least Club America did better than Cruz Azul and you and Liverpool.
They're going to be better. You know what?
So anyway,
Cruz Azul is going to be above Club America by the end of this table. I promise. Laying it down right now.
Take. I don't see that happening. No, save it for your mid tournament standings predictions. We will get into all of that.
Cruz Azul number 1, Club America number 12. That's how I feel about this.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure, that'll so happen. Anyway, so that's us this week. Again, tune in next week. We'll have a lot more exclusives once I get through transcribing and those 39 interviews.
39 interviews, people. Give her some time.
Yeah, I need a minute. But we'll be posting things up on our Twitter, social media channels, my personal Twitter, Geno's personal Twitter, and YouTube as well. So feel free to tune back in. And thanks so much for listening. Bye.